Hello, my name is Christian Kirk. This is for my group's project on From Region to Recipe, a culinary map. Today, I'm going to talk about we're trying to implement the backend portion of the code for um, basically fetching the recipes from the Spoonacular API. So here we have the server.js file, and this code is a server script that uses the Express framework. It's designed to handle web requests and interact with the Spoonacular API, which is where we're going to be getting the recipes. And it also has a function here to read and write to the local JSON file, which is where all the results are going to be saved. It's essentially the database for all of our recipes. So back to the server.js. So here in the import statements, we have the Express and JSON imports so that we're able to use the Express web application framework and the JSON middleware. And we're using fetch to, it's a module to enable the fetch API so that we can make HTTPS requests, which comes in handy here. And the FS import, we'll be using the file system because we're going to be reading and writing to the JSON file, the database for our recipes. And so setting up the CORS configuration here, this is the cross-origin resource sharing to allow the front end to make requests to the server basically from a different origin, so it's mostly for security. Here is the function to read the existing JSON file, which is this, the data, and this is the function to write into it. So we're going to be requesting recipes from Spoonacular, our API, and once we get those recipes, we're going to write that into the JSON file so that we can display on the recipe map with Leaflet. And here is the I just put it's an example route because I'm not really sure where we're going to be saving it. I think we're going to create an API folder, but for now I just have it saved into the same folder as the other code here. So we're going to be reading and parsing the JSON file and writing data into it so that it can be displayed on the recipe map. But right now we have to determine how we're going to implement the latitude and longitude because the Spoonacular doesn't have that, although we can probably hard code it because it has a cuisine section in the Spoonacular data. So we might just be able to hard code the cuisine to the map for now until we figure out how to implement the specific region rather than the entire country. And over here, this is just more code for errors, and this is where it listens for requests on the server. And yeah, this is basically the back end, or some of the back end for our application. What else can I talk about this? I think that's pretty much it. So moving on to the other, I made some additions to this, so I'm not gonna talk about this in its entirety because we talked about this in phase 1. But like I said earlier, the Spoonacular API, it can only do certain things as far as requesting recipes. So this region portion here, I'm not sure if we'll be able to use this. It has a cuisine option on the Spoonacular API, which I think we can just use for the country, say if it's Italian or Greek cuisine or Brazilian or whatever. It does have max results, which was already there in our original source, and dietary restrictions still the same, although we can definitely add more. We're going to be using these options, what the user will specify as parameters, when we fetch the recipes here in our method. As you can see, these parameters will be used here to append to the query, which we will be using for when we fetch recipes from the back end. that's pretty much it for the back end. We're definitely still a work in progress. We have to figure out what data we can actually use from the API so that we could display it on the map as efficiently as possible. So I think for our source 3 code, it's going to be a little bit more refined to where we have the back end running um, to work seamlessly with the front end.
Hello everyone. Made some changes for phase 2 with our web application from region to recipe, a culinary map. First of all, I added more information in the about page where I give a brief description of the application, why we decided to make it. I moved the logo to the top left of the screen, added the authors to the top right, and also added a contact modal. When you click it, it shows our email addresses in a little modal. You can either hit the close button, which closes, or you just click off the screen and the modal goes away. We'll likely add more to this page, but this is a start. And you can see at the top hand of the screen, I added a reviews tab. This is also pretty bare bones at the moment, but the goal is for users to write a review. So when they click on the feedback modal, they can rate their experience, write a comment, and then once this comment is submitted, it will go to the reviews page where you can filter through all the different kind of reviews based on the star count. This is the about page code. This is where I added the authors in the top right of the screen. This is where I adjusted the logo to the top left. I added the text in the middle of the screen with a V card. Down below is where I created the contact us modal. I chose the color, size, and placement of that modal. I made it so where you have to click the modal to expose it, and then a close event within the button, which exits the modal. This is also where we have stored the email addresses for contact information. We used fake email addresses just for the purpose of the assignment. Initially, the contact modal is set to false, so it doesn't automatically open without the user clicking on the modal. It's then set to true once the click event is detected, and it's then set to false once the user exits the modal. This is our main.js file. It's virtually the same from our phase 1. However, this time I added several new, more descriptive comments throughout describing which each segment of code is, such as the various libraries, Vuetify stylings, just to help the user understand what they're looking at. This is also where I imported the new reviews page component, and also where I defined the path for that reviews page, along with all of the other components that were in the previous phase. So this is just a brief update of where we're at now. This is our app.view page. It's also fairly similar to phase 1. However, I added a bunch of new descriptive comments, again for user clarity and further understanding of the code. The one major difference here, I added a new reviews button. So at the top of our application, next to the about page, there is a new button with the same colors and same click events. This is where I routed that page. So when you click on the reviews tab, or when you click on the reviews button, it will take you to that page. But everything else is virtually the same with new comments.